The next news story of the week. Now, this one's quite interesting because, first of all, there was the publication of a patent that actually showed us Xbox's streaming box, codenamed Keystone, in a lot more detail than we've seen it in the past, which basically amounted to a kind of out of focus look at the machine that sat on Phil Spencer's shelf in the background. So yes, this patent actually showed us what this particular Xbox would actually look like in a bit more detail. I believe it was cancelled because they couldn't get the price point down to something acceptable. I believe the target was something like $99. This has actually happened at pretty much the same time that Xbox has announced that Game Pass streaming is coming to Amazon Fire Stick and various Amazon streaming devices. John, I hesitate to ask, but obviously this doesn't particularly excite you in any way, shape, or form. Do you have any reaction to this at all?
Well, firstly, when you say the word Keystone, I'm thinking if you swap those two words around, it would become a great Elder Scrolls name, like the Elder Scrolls 7 Stone Key or something like that. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I remain relieved that this Keystone project never really came to fruition, in the sense that its success could have hastened the rise of streaming further. But I'm not even convinced that the rise of streaming is even still going to be a thing anytime soon, because the experience remains largely bad outside of the NVIDIA stuff, which is actually impressive, I would say. I guess the thing that's I'm wondering about though is it's just the Xbox streaming itself. It's not very good.
The image quality
It was never good. So I'm very curious to see what the Amazon Fire Stick result actually produces here. If it's just the same as it's always been, then we have no reason to believe they've expanded their streaming capabilities anytime recently.
Yeah.
If it just looks like that typical stuff, it's certainly functional. And I guess for something like a Fire Stick, where it's like a multi-use device, maybe that makes more sense. But even the Fire Stick itself, I feel like is becoming an outdated concept, in the sense that smart TVs basically have most of the apps you're ever going to need already built in. I'd have no purpose in owning something to add those functionalities to a TV, because the interface on the TV itself works so well.
I'm looking at Xbox's news post for this. Xbox gaming coming to Amazon Fire TV. Play more games, no console needed, which has rubbed up at some people the wrong way, potentially saying, well, is this some sort of statement about Microsoft's strategy? I guess it really isn't. It's just a concept that they want to put out there, that you can just sample this because you might already have an Amazon Fire TV stick.
I think this does actually fit in with their strategy. They've reiterated many times that the whole idea is to make Xbox games playable everywhere, right? That's the current strategy as far as we can tell. So in that sense, it makes perfect sense for their strategy. Even if this is not the optimal way to experience it, you know what? For a certain subset of the audience that has a Fire TV stick like this, maybe it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I guess the question is I guess you have to pair an Xbox controller to the Fire TV stick. And the stick itself seems to be, you need a Bluetooth enabled wireless controller. So anyone will do, but that seemed to be the sticking point for the Keystone project that Phil mentioned, where they wanted to hit that $99 to $129 price point, and the controller cost sort of became the prohibitively expensive factor, where it's like, if you have to bundle a controller with that device, suddenly selling it for $99 becomes not so feasible.
Yeah, another reason I heard was that it's using an Intel processor, which are never cheap.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah, it was
That's
actually
curious.
x86 in nature. Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting, right?
Fundamentally, though, I just don't know. I think this is probably the better way to do things, where bring this sort of streaming thing into devices that are already capable of it and allow people to use it that way, for those that want to, rather than trying to sell a standalone box that also does this, right?
Yeah. It's going to work on the Fire TV Stick 4K Max, $60, and the TV Stick 4K Non-Max, $50.
I'm
But
curious to
yeah,
see it though, for real. I'm really wondering what it's going to look like.
yeah, I'm just curious to see whether there's going to be any changes at all to the infrastructure side, because at the moment it's 720p that goes out to smartphones and 1080p that goes out to other devices. And at 1080p, it's still quite constricted bitrate. In fact, if you go back to Tom's video that he did back in the day versus the PlayStation 5 streaming, it really isn't looking particularly great there. I mean, the PlayStation streaming is limited to PlayStation, which is a fundamental weakness of the streaming, the use of the streaming concept.
Yeah.
Xbox is looking to do it sort of more widespread, as it were, on more devices, but the 1080p stream isn't really great. And actually turned out that it looks like they've actually moved from using the Series X versions of the games to Series S, virtualizing the Series X silicon. So I'm wondering whether that's going to be the case for this as well. I'm guessing probably so, but I think we'd like to look at it. And it's going to be coming in July, I guess, based on this news post. Do you have any thoughts, Alex?
No, just that I'm happy that there isn't a separate device being sold, kind of like John, because I feel like, not to be mean, but I think it is a little bit e-wasty to drop out another device that, when a lot of televisions, or if there's already these other things that support Bluetooth and hook up to televisions and offer streaming capabilities,
Right.
then might as well hijack that infrastructure that already exists, maybe pay a small licensing fee just to get your service on there. And I think that's smarter in the end, because, I mean, you already have like a lot. I mean, I have a lot of stuff on my desk. I have a lot. If you have a television stand, maybe there's a bunch of stuff there too. I don't know, but I feel like, yeah, just having it be more a part of just a TV, or just like a tiny USB thing sticking out of a TV or HDMI port,
Right.
that seems a lot better.
Mm-hmm. I guess my issue with going back to the original Keystone is that, putting out a box that costs however much, $130, and you're still getting the same questionable quality from a visual perspective, that would be a profound disappointment for me if I was buying one of these devices, because that is what I would say. I'd still say $100 to $130 is a sizable investment for an Xbox. And when you think of what an Xbox is, you want a certain level of quality from that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know whether they can actually turn on 4K streaming or just improve quality generally, just up the bitrate, for example. But I'd have liked to have seen that. And I'm curious what they're going to do here, because they're actually rolling out the Xbox app in fact, it's available on a lot of smart TVs now. But I'm not sure that the actual quality of the service has improved to match, the sort of expectations you'd have for what a gameplay on a massive living room screen.